Welcome back to another episode. It feels like it's been a long time since I uploaded, but I only uploaded like last week. I was just come back from holiday, and I'll be honest with you, I really didn't want to come back to the UK weather. I mean, it's a little bit sunny, but where I went, definitely good weather. So today's video is going to be more about something which I think a lot of people, a lot of my subscribers do have mixed feelings, and they do have mixed feelings over the CLS 55. I mean, coming from the Audi S3 to an old school car definitely did have quite an impact on my channel in terms of views and subscribers, which in a way was bad at first, but now kind of good. My audience is growing. But today's video is going to be more about, should you buy an older car? So should you take my road or should you take the new road, in terms of should you buy a newer car? We'll find out today. Right, so as you guys know, there are a couple of factors which I am going to talk about, but there's the main one which I think every single one of you guys will agree with me. It is the quality of the interior. Right, so I'm not going to slate any car off, any specific car, but I will say there's a lot of newer cars that have absolutely trashy interior. It might look like the most amazing interior ever, but in newer cars there is a lot of plastic going on. Here's absolutely no plastic. I mean, yep, this you can tell this is expensive. Everything just looks expensive and feels expensive. Everything feels so strong, built well, and of course during this generation, so if you look at this as well, feel that it's a nice feel, and you can definitely tell money has been spent. I mean, during this generation of cars, so I'm talking about 05, 06, 07, that kind of generation, money was spent, and I mean a lot of money was spent on a great product, which I will give definitely a massive thumbs up to Mercedes for that. I mean, the whole collision with Chrysler, but that's kind of over and done with. I think this generation of car, so I am talking about the CLS in particular, so this generation of car definitely did bring back the brand quite a bit. And yeah, so definitely interior wise, please don't slate me off, it's just facts. I mean, I've driven loads of newer cars. Obviously, as you guys know, I had the S3. There was a lot of plastic going on. You'd think for yourself, for a 20 or £1,000 car, you would expect quality. Yeah, the engine was great. Yeah, the gearbox was great. There are a couple of bits and bobs, but you would expect the interior, the place where you actually sit, to feel expensive. But I'll be real with you, it didn't. I mean, the S3 interior is absolutely dog shite, I'll be honest with you, in terms of there's too much plastic going on. I loved it, don't get me wrong, but there was a lot of plastic going on, and I think even here, like, you can tell money has been spent here, obviously the steering wheel. It's just a lot of money has been spent on a great product. Right, so there's not much I'm going to say about looks, but this being one of the meanest looking AMGs during its generation, that's just, I'm sorry, but that is a very strong opinion of mine. I mean, the 05 CLS 55 AMG, obviously you've got the grille, you've got the front bumper. I think what makes it really stand out is the diffuser, which I, like I said, genuinely think it should come out of factory like that, but during that generation, diffusers weren't really a big thing in terms of selling them as an aftermarket product. But honestly, as looks wise, 100 million %, you just can't go wrong with it. I mean, if you look at the size of the car as well, it's not exactly small, and you can actually tell by the car, like, this was built for what it was supposed to do, which was basically thrash everything and gap pretty much everyone and everything on the road. I think as much as I talk about how good the CLS looks, I will be honest with you, I think a like-to-like car, for example, like the newer CLS 63, or there's no 55 but 63, the newer ones definitely look so much better. I mean, like I said, we're in 2021. I mean, this is a million times outdated, so in terms of looks wise, the newer cars have definitely won there. Or there are some specific cars, but I'm talking about like-to-like cars to these, not I don't know, like a Passat or something, but something like-to-like to this. Definitely newer cars, a very outdated look, but in my opinion, still one of the best looking AMGs during that generation. So thumbs up for me. Right, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the M113K engine, probably, well, the most reliable AMG engine ever developed, and that's just a fact. I'm sorry, but this engine is just on a whole different level. These can actually take up to around 700 brake horsepower on stock block, obviously including meth, which is what I'm going to do hopefully. So that's the plans. So yeah, this engine, yeah, definitely has won my heart. I mean, if you look at the newer ones, not so great. I mean, they have a lot of design flaws, a lot of issues. I'm just not talking about any AMGs, but just more the performance like cars, the common cars, not the common cars, sorry, the like cars, my bad. Yeah, so it makes me sad a little bit to kind of see that the quality and the money that was put into this engine was never carried on into these newer cars. But honestly, this thing is just crazy. So a big thank you to Mr. Pascal Petrel who hand built this engine. So yeah, that is the elephant in the room that has to be put in video. So yeah, so like I was kind of saying with the engine part, it is a shame. And to be honest with you, old school has won in terms of engine wise and interior. Looks wise, newer has won. But yeah, so now obviously we've done interior, so like quality, engine, looks, and now obviously we're going to go on to the performance, so like the driving, see what it feels like. And of course, just before we do that, a little mini sound test. I was going to say I'm not being biased, but come on, let's be real, that sounds sick. So yeah, old school definitely won there. Ooh. Right, so last two things, performance and drive. So quality in terms of interior, old school has definitely won. Looks wise, newer cars have definitely won. I mean, like I said, these cars are so outdated. Let's be real, you want a nice looking car which is also up to date. I mean, to be fair, the CLS is quite mean looking, but it's nothing like, for example, like an M3 or an M4 or even a CLS 60. It's never going to be like that. Exhaust wise and so engine wise, that's just a fact. If you guys know your AMGs, you'll know the M113K engine is probably one of the best engines ever made by AMG. It has a very, very good reputation. And talk about performance wise, whoa. You know, so we talk about the C63 AMG, how a lot of people say it sounds like a jackhammer. This 55 AMG, not only do you get the love of the noise of a jackhammer, you also get that awesome noise of that supercharger. I better calm down. Let's focus on the last two things, performance and just overall driving really. So let's get on with the most boring bit, the driving. Sorry, the people that have got newer cars, there will be nothing like an old school AMG, a luxury AMG that will drive like this, or like-minded cars, or similar cars, sorry. I mean, the drivability of this thing is like a dream. It's a dream come true. You have the different settings of, obviously, of course, adjusting the air suspension, which isn't great, but I'll talk about that another time. So overall drivability is amazing. So taking it out of sport, it's amazing. You can hardly feel the road, you can hardly feel bumps, which I absolutely love. The only thing I don't like about it in like comfort is there's a lot of body roll. There's a lot of body roll. But the minute you put it in sport, so the suspension in sport, yeah, you know you're in an AMG. That's just quite a weird thing for me to say, coming from an S3, which was pretty much in sport 100% of the time. So drivability is amazing compared to newer cars. Definitely way ahead of its time, that I will say. And coming on to the last thing, the CLS 55 AMG stock is 470 brake horsepower with 700 Newton meters of torque. The previous owner, which I bought the car off, has mapped it with stage 1, so it's now producing 510 brake horsepower dynoed with 800 Newton meters of torque. That's a lot from a stage 1. That is a massive amount. And combining that much power with this much of noise, oh. just doesn't get boring. It doesn't get boring at all. So like I said, going on to the performance, it's what an AMG should do, not what an AMG is supposed to do. It's what an AMG should do. And a lot of people are going to hate me for this, but I'll be honest with you, traction off. Oh crap. So traction off, I was going to do a mini burnout, but too many people around, I can't be doing that. So the instant amount of torque, I mean, don't get me wrong, these newer cars, so for example, like let's talk about the CLS63 AMG, a very, very good car, a very good car, and I will hand on heart say that. The power figures on those is ridiculous. I mean, on a stage 1, you can get 1,000 Newton meters of torque. I mean, Jesus, that is a lot. That is a lot of torque. On this, obviously it's an old gearbox. It's more about reliability on these. I mean, it can take quite a bit of torque, don't get me wrong, but it will be nothing like these newer cars, which can take so much more depending on the car obviously. So performance wise, there's a lot of torque in this car. The only downside I don't like about this car, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love it at the same time. I'm kind of contradicting myself there a little bit. It spins out quite a bit. I mean, don't get me wrong. Oh shit, as you can see, this car does not play around. So performance wise, 510 brake is enough for the average person, not for me. So I'm looking at 700 brake, 650 brake, depending if I'm feeling, you know, and even if the missus lets me, who knows. So performance wise, definitely great. There's only so much you can do with this engine. Actually no, I take that back. You can do quite a lot with these engines, the newer ones. In the CLS63 you are very limited, and you're limited by not only the capability of the engine but the technology as well, because there's only so much. This has got an old school ECU in there. It's nothing new. I mean, don't get me wrong, this car is way ahead of its time, but not enough to kind of keep up with the newer cars. If you know what you're doing, like myself, if you know the right people, like I do, you can do quite a lot with these cars, because of the build quality of this engine is just unreal. It is absolutely unreal, and I can't express enough to say about how well built this car is. Performance wise, definitely does the job. And if I had to honestly say, performance, definitely. And also, not only that, there's something I have missed out: price bracket. You can get this car around 10 grand, and the one thing I will say, and I will back up, is this is a very good investment. These cars, this generation of cars that were on this league, so in terms of M3s, M5s, CLS55, CLS60, they are very, very good investments. So I think a lot of people who don't actually understand the whole investment side of cars definitely look into it. I mean, you can do quite a lot with these cars, but I am going to limit in terms of how far I go with this car, because like I said, it's an investment. It's a genuine investment. The S3 was an investment to the channel. The CLS63 was more investment to myself, which is totally to But honestly, if I had to say to choose between new and old and what I would recommend for myself, so for the people that actually know the value of certain cars, know the value of an AMG M3s and stuff like that, you would know that, you know, you would immediately pick an older car, because investment wise, you got to think future, you got to think there's a lot of factors to these cars. I think I'm just blabbering on, to be honest with you. But honestly, for a person like myself who kind of knows their stuff quite a bit about these cars, so for people that kind of know their stuff about cars like these, definitely an old car. But if I had to recommend old or new to people that have very limited knowledge on cars, definitely. Oh yeah, that was not great. So like I said, guys, old or new, if I had to pick and recommend, definitely old. Not only that, save you money in the long term. There's quality build, there's more parts available as well. There's so much I can talk about why you should buy an older car, but it all kind of depends on what you want out of a car. This video is more for people that kind of want to know, like, should I buy an old one, should I buy a new one, what should I do I have a budget of 10 grand, 20 grand? It's just a matter about what you do with the car, what you value the car. I'm not here to tell you what to do, I'm here to give my advice, and that's exactly what I've done. And before I end this vlog, I just want to say thank you to you guys for watching, subscribing, of course, not skipping the ads. I'm going to finish off with a cheeky little burnout, but not only that. Turn off. What the f? I hope you guys enjoyed. As you guys know, I definitely had my fun in this car.